I was born with too much light behind my eyes. That is how the choir mothers put it, back on Wessex Reach when they came through the mining creche with their lanterns and their ledgers. Too much light. I did not understand what they meant until I was older, and the light had been taken from me on purpose, by people who loved the Emperor more than they loved my face. Wessex Reach is a rock. That is the whole of it if you want the short version. An asteroid hive strung with promethium refineries, chained together by tunnels that never see a sun, breathing recycled air that tastes of iron and other men's sweat. Children there are put to work sorting ore by the age of 6. By 8, we knew the sound a body makes falling down a shaft, a short syllable, then nothing. My mother sorted slag. My father died in a tunnel collapse before I could walk. I tell you this not for pity. I tell you this because it explains why. When the choir mothers found me screaming in the dark with my eyes rolled back and the other children backing away from me like I was on fire, my mother did not fight them. She signed the paper. She kissed my forehead. She never saw me again. That is the first thing you learn if you carry the gift. Love does not survive contact with it. Not because the people who love you stop loving you. Because you become something they can no longer reach. They took me to a sanctioning house on a world I never learned the name of. We were never told the names of worlds, only distances and warnings. And there I met the first person who was honest with me. A tutor. Old. One socket dark and scarred where an eye had been. The other milky with cataract, though I would later understand, cataract was not the correct word for what afflicts an astropath's remaining sight. He told me plainly, the gift I carried was a door standing open in a house with no other doors. Things came through open doors. Some of them wanted to wear my skin. That was my formative lesson. Not a battle, not a corpse, though I saw both soon enough. My formative lesson was watching a girl 2 bunks down from mine stop being a girl. It happened over 11 nights. She laughed wrong first, too long, at things that were not funny. Then she stopped sleeping. Then, on the 11th night, she stood at the end of the dormitory and told us, in a voice that was not hers and was several voices at once, exactly how each of us would die. She got 3 of them right before the tutors came for her. I do not know what happened in the room they took her to. I know she did not come back, and I know I was made to stand outside that door as it happened, because the tutors believed, correctly I have come to think, that watching teaches faster than telling. I was 13 when they blinded me. I want to say it plainly because most people flinch from the word and use softer ones. Sanctioned, ascended, opened, I was blinded. Men in red vestments held my head, and a woman with steady hands and a chant on her lips took my eyes from me with an instrument I never saw, because by the time it touched me I no longer had eyes to see it with. There was no anesthetic in the way you are imagining. There was prayer, which is not the same thing, though I have come to believe it did something the way a hand on your shoulder does something, even when it cannot stop the blow landing. I will tell you what it is like, since you asked. Since this is the whole reason you are listening to a dead woman's voice recorded onto wax cylinder in a chapel that will not exist by the time you hear it. It is like drowning upward. The physical world goes out like a snuffed candle. Not darkness, absence, a hole where sight used to sit in your skull, and something rises to fill the space. Not gently, it floods. Suddenly you are not looking at a room, you are looking at everything. The psychic hum of every soul within 1,000 leagues, layered and shrieking and singing, the greasy afterimage of every violent death that ever happened near you. And above it all, cutting through all of it like a lighthouse through fog, the Astronomicon. The light of the Emperor himself, burning across the black gulf between stars, and you are meant to stand inside that beam and let it pass through you and come out the other side as something a starship's captain can steer by. That is the official description. Here is the truer one. It hurts in a way that never fully stops. Every astropath I have ever known describes it differently, and every description is the same complaint wearing different clothes. Mine is a pressure behind where my eyes were, a permanent headache with teeth that flares to agony whenever I'm required to transmit. And you are required to transmit often. They did not simply cut my eyes and send me to a psychic choir, the way it is sometimes romanticized, starlit temples, singing to the heavens. I served 11 years in the black iron chapel hold of a relay station orbiting a dead world, whose name was classified, in a chamber shared with 40 other blinded men and women, chained by soul-binding wards to iron chairs, so that our bodies would not wander during the sending. Because the sending takes you somewhere your body cannot safely follow, and if no one holds the door, your body can be found and worn by something else while you are away. I was not permitted a name there. I was Relay 9. My cell neighbor, an old man who had been blinded 40 years before I was born, was Relay 6, and he was the closest thing to family I had after Vesik's reach. He taught me to hum instead of scream when the sending burned. He taught me the trick of thinking of the pain as a toll paid, not a punishment, because a punishment breaks a mind, and a toll a mind can survive paying, again and again, for a lifetime. He believed that, or made himself believe it, which in an astropath's chapel amounts to the same discipline. I will not tell you every message I carried, because I have forgotten most, and the ones I remember I am forbidden to repeat by oaths that bind tighter than any chain. I will tell you this. The burden of the message is not the words. It is the distance. Every sending is a wound the length of the galaxy, torn open and then stitched shut, and you feel the whole length of it pass through your chest like a blade drawn slow. 40 of us in that chamber. In my first year, 9 died at the chair, hearts simply stopping under the strain, or minds giving way and the body left as an empty house until something moved in to occupy it, which is worse, and which is why there are men with bolters standing at the chamber door at all times, and why I do not resent them, because I have seen what they are there to stop, and I would want the bolter there myself if it were needed for me. Relay 6 went that way. Not in battle. Astropaths rarely die in battle in the way soldiers understand it. He simply did not finish ascending. His body kept sitting in the chair with its head tilted the way it always tilted, and for 4 seconds nobody moved. And then the something behind his ruined eyes smiled at me with his mouth, and the bolter took him before the smile finished forming. I do not tell you this for horror's sake. I tell you because it is the truest thing I know about my order. We are the door that must never be left open unattended, and the price of that vigilance is paid in the bodies of people I loved. Relay 6 went that way. Not in battle. Astropaths rarely die in battle in the way soldiers understand it. He simply did not finish ascending. His body kept sitting in the chair with its head tilted the way it always tilted, and for 4 seconds nobody moved. And then the something behind his ruined eyes smiled at me with his mouth, and the bolter took him before the smile finished forming. I do not tell you this for horror's sake. I tell you because it is the truest thing I know about my order. We are the door that must never be left open unattended, and the price of that vigilance is paid in the bodies of people I loved. They call astropaths slaves, sometimes in the low decks where soldiers gossip and do not know better, and I have never corrected them, because in the shape that matters, the shape of choice, they are not wrong. I did not choose the chair. I did not choose the wards that bind me to it during ascending, that would let armed men put a bolt through my skull the instant I stopped being me. I did not choose to be shipped from station to station, hold to hold, my body a relay tower with no say in where it was planted. But I want to tell you, because I think it matters, that somewhere inside the slavery I found something that was mine. Purpose does not require consent to be real. I carried the word that saved a fleet from ambush at Kirrus Drift 3 years into my service. A warning sent through me from a sister Astropath dying on a burning ship, her final act pouring the location of an Orc raider swarm through her own failing mind and into mine and out again to a relief fleet 2 systems distant. She died completing that sending. I felt her die, felt the exact moment the pressure of her presence in the warp guttered out mid-transmission. And I finished the message for her because a half-delivered warning is worse than none. 40,000 souls on those relief ships lived because 2 blind women, one of them already dead, refused to let a sentence go unfinished. That is what nobody tells you about the horror. It is real, it is also not the whole of the story, and an honest account owes you both halves. The worst of it, the thing that broke something in me that never fully mended, came in my 9th year, during what the officers called the Herrow Silence. A stretch of 11 days when every Astropath on the relay station began receiving the same intrusion during sending. Not a message, not a person, but a pressure, patient and enormous, testing the wards the way a hand tests a locked door, over and over, unhurried, because it had all the time that does not exist where it lives. On the 6th day, it got a foothold in Relay 14, a boy no older than I had been when they blinded me. And what came out through his mouth spoke every language in that chamber at once, including languages none of us had ever heard and understood anyway, which is the part I still cannot explain to a mind that has not felt it. I was closest to him. I was ordered to hold the sending open long enough for the guards to get a clean shot without severing 40 other minds from the network mid-transmission, because the network does not forgive an unclean cut. I held it open. I felt what was wearing him look directly at me, through him, and it knew my true name. The name from before Vessic's reach, the name even I had half forgotten. And it said it kindly, almost lovingly, the way you would greet someone you intended to keep. They killed the boy before it finished the sentence. I have never been able to remember the sentence since, and I no longer try. Relay 6, before his own death, told me that was mercy, not damage. That some doors, once you understand what's on the other side of them, are better left half-remembered. The Herrow Silence never received an official explanation in any record I was shown. I only know that the relief fleet the wards saved outnumbered the fallen, and that the officers called it a victory, and that victory is a word soldiers and astropaths alike learn to hold loosely because it rarely means what the word suggests. I am old now, or old for what I am. Most of us do not see 40. I have been moved in recent years to training duties, teaching newly sanctioned children the humming trick Relay 6 taught me, teaching them to think of pain as a toll and not a punishment, teaching them which silences in the warp are simply silence and which ones are something looking back. Most of them are not from Vessic's reach. Most of them are not from anywhere I would recognize. It no longer matters where the raw material comes from. What matters is what we make of it in the chamber, in the chair, in the 11 years or 9 years or 40 years we are given before the chains take us or the something behind a colleague's ruined eyes does. Tomorrow they move me to a new relay hold, closer to a front I am not permitted to name, where the sendings will come faster and heavier, and the toll will be higher than it has ever been. I am afraid. I will say that plainly, into this cylinder, because there is no one left alive who remembers me as anything but Relay 9, and a dying woman is allowed one honest confession before she goes back into the chair. I go anyway. Not because the fear leaves, it does not, it never has. But because somewhere out past the black, ships full of soldiers who will never know my name are steering by a light I help carry, and a door I am sworn to hold shut stands between them and something that would wear their faces gladly. I am the toll paid, so that message gets through unbroken. Let the dark come from my eyes again tomorrow. It already has everything else. The window still stands, the door still holds. I am still the light behind it.